We'll go ahead and get started here now, and the folks that come in a little bit afterwards will miss the most important stuff, right? It is, yeah. So, good catch. We are recording this session, so we'll put it online later. If you miss anything, you can kind of fast forward or pause through it. And if anyone else you want to share that with, we'll be able to share that as well. We're going to be talking about the new Keller Williams websites today, getting to know your new Keller Williams websites today. We're going to be talking a lot of technology inside the sites, but a lot of theory on why this is important. And it kind of starts with this chain of events over here on the left-hand side. And if any of these are missing, you're not going to have a successful website or a successful online presence or experience. And this chain starts with getting your website found, all the way through collecting a commission. Anybody here want to collect a commission because they got found online? Right? So that's kind of the whole concept of what we're talking about here today. And you know what they say about a chain? A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So there are 8 steps to this chain: getting found, somebody click on your website, getting them to stick on your website, ultimately lead capture, which is kind of what y'all are expecting out of your website, is to get some new leads in theory, and then getting your appointment, writing your contract, having a closing, and earning a commission. So this whole thing has to happen in this order in order for you to be successful with online lead generation. And the real challenge here is that most agents didn't sign up for this stuff. When you went to real estate school, they didn't teach you about search engine optimization. They didn't teach you about lead captures, call to actions, all that kind of stuff that makes this stuff successful. They taught you about this stuff down. Well, hopefully they taught you about this stuff down here. You know, sometimes they leave it to training in the office. But this stuff right here is what we're going to be talking about today. The stuff that real estate agents typically aren't super excited about. All right? Any questions on that before we get started? I have a question for you before we get too deep into this. Why? I want to have a conversation with you about why you want to have a successful website. So I want you to think about that just for a minute. Why? And when we ask this question on phone calls and seminars and webinars, there's typically 2 answers that we get overwhelming across the country. And I bet if you think about that right now, you guys could probably answer that. Why do you need a website? Do you want to share?
Lead generation?
Lead generation? Absolutely. Number 1 reason. 44% of the people surveyed answered lead generation. What about the second reason?
Capture.
Pardon me?
You're capturing their information for future.
Yeah, absolutely. Some sort of lead capture form, whether that's a buyer's for, searching for properties, saving favorites, etc., or sellers, maybe what's my home worth? Absolutely. What else? What's that?
First impression.
Absolutely. First impression. It is your online reputation, right? So even if your website is not generating leads for you, your consumers, your buyers or sellers are getting to your website and they're making a judgment about you. Whether you like it or not, they are looking you up online and they're trying to figure out, is this person credible? Is this person worthy of me trusting my most important investment with them? Okay? And if you're not hearing that your clients say, yeah, I like your website, your clients are looking at your website and they're not talking to you anymore. They're going somewhere else. So a lot of people say, I don't have a reputation problem. If you don't think you have a reputation problem, you have a big reputation problem. Because the people aren't talking to you. They're not engaging with you. Right? So it's very important that we look at the 2 things today: lead generation and reputation, professionalism, okay? Brand, credibility, all of those things is what we're going to be taking a look at today. So I want you to come back to this anytime that you're looking at your website and you're wondering why my website isn't working or what can I do for my website, or you see this new shiny little object that's cool for your website. I want you to come back to this why. If it's not going to yield you higher lead generation and it's not going to yield you more credibility or increase your brand, it's not important. And everything else is just a distraction. And I know you guys have hours and hours a week to work on your websites, right? Of course not. Yeah, of course, right? So if it's not going to generate more leads or it's not going to increase your credibility or your brand awareness, let's skip it. Let's not worry about it. All right? So before we get too into this, let's make a quick little introduction of who I am. My name is Ken Granger. I run a branding and web development agency called Brandco. We're based out of Orlando, Florida. And we are the only Keller Williams approved vendor and Placer certified partner. So we understand technology on both sides of the fence. I actually sat on the Agent Technology Council at Keller Williams from 2008 to 2013. And I'm on staff for over a dozen offices across the country as their tech coordinator. So I'm pretty well versed at the Keller Williams technology and Playster as it starts to come on board as well. So throughout the presentation and class today, if there are questions, please feel free to ask those as we go. We will be leaving quite a bit of time at the end for Q&A, so if there are some individual questions, we want to look at your individual sites, we can do that. We are going to make some assumptions that you played with your website a little bit. I know when we talked a little bit earlier in the week, I know Julian was trying to get you guys to work on your website. If you have not, no embarrassment, don't worry about it. Hopefully this will inspire you and motivate you to do something about that. It's really important that you get those websites up and running and get those things launched. So before we dive into this, any burning questions that you guys have before we get started? Nothing. It's quiet right after lunch. So the number one thing that you guys talked about was leads. I want to talk to you about the flow of leads and how that works in the Keller Williams system. So first of all, let's talk about what we had prior to these new websites coming out. We had two sources of leads. We have leads that were coming from eAgency, which is kw.com, your office website, and your individual eAgency website. All of those leads, when they come in, they end up in your eEdge transaction management dashboard. And we have a market leader website. Sometimes people will refer to that as the eEdge website. Those leads also come into the eEdge lead and transaction management system. So regardless of the source in the Keller Williams ecosystem, those leads are going to feed down into your eEdge. Now the reason why I call this market leader instead of eEdge is because sometimes there's some confusion about what system does what. The entire ecosystem is eEdge regardless of where the source of lead comes in. Okay? Now with the new website coming out that's powered by Playster, nothing's going to change. These leads are still going to be coming into your eEdge. Okay? So regardless of the source, eAgency, market leader, or now the new KW website's powered by Playster, those leads will show up in your eEdge transaction management. Any questions on that? Very important to note that regardless of where those leads are coming from, it's going to feed in there. So now I'm jumping around here a little bit, but I want to talk about the phase out. The eAgency website is going to be phased out later this year. We're almost halfway through the year. So that's coming around the corner very quickly. Those websites are going to be phased out. So if y'all are using your eAgency website, it is something that you want to look at getting migrated or transitioned over to the Playster website sooner than later. Now they've not announced an exact date when that's going to happen. If my guess is going to be late, like December, maybe 31st. I don't know. But there's a huge focus to get everyone transitioned off of that so they can retire eAgency. Has anybody played with their eAgency website before? No one? Okay, good. You don't need to. It was difficult. It sucked. It was really hard to use. Anybody use their Playster website? That's like 100 times easier than what eAgency was, right? So there's a huge push from KW to retire this old system. And thankfully you all have not, cut your teeth learning through that system because it was not the best environment. Now, the eEdge and market leader side of the equation, that's not going away anytime soon. It's not going away anytime soon. But they did indicate at Family Reunion that there is going to be a new CRM coming out and that Playster was kind of involved in all that. So they planted a little bit of seed, which might have created some confusion. All right? But they have not announced a date when the eAgent or the market leader or eEdge side of things will be going away. Pardon me? CRM, sorry about this. Customer or client relationship management. Okay? So basically your eEdge My Leads dashboard is what would be considered your CRM. Thank you for that. Your database, basically. Yep. Great. All right, any questions on this stuff? This is the muddy kind of stuff before we get into the good stuff. Nothing? All right. We're actually going to go live now, so we'll be kind of screencasting over to different websites. So I appreciate that, though. All right, so bear with me 1 second while we get logged into a Playster account. How many folks here have logged into their Playster account? That's not everybody. Let me ask the question again. How many people here have logged into their Playster account? Okay, there's more. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get logged in here and then share my screen over with you guys so that you can see what I'm working on here. Well, we got like a whole new group of folks. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Did that share over? All right, so we're going to start taking a look actually at your office's Keller Williams site. And I don't know why the photos aren't loading up there. They're loading over here. But I want to take a look at this because part of this chain of events, the first piece of this chain of events, is getting found online. And this is one way potentially that you can get found, and that's through your office website. Through KW.com, through many places through the Keller Williams system, you have a profile. And that profile is linked to what's called the white pages. And essentially, it's like a directory of all the Keller Williams agents, right? Like the old phone book kind of white pages. So this is one place that a consumer could potentially land on to look you guys up and to see if you're an agent that they would potentially want to work with. All right? Now, most people that come here don't really know who they're looking for. They're looking for an agent in general. So what they potentially may end up doing is getting over to this Find an Agent page. Because they don't really know the name of the person that they're looking for, they would just kind of search for all agents. Now, buyers and sellers are one type of person or persona that would come here. Who else might come to this page to find an agent in the kind of the O'Hare area? Referrals, right? An agent from another market center somewhere else in the country, they use this a lot. In fact, 60% of the visits that are coming here are actually agent partners from another market center. Okay? This is a big deal. So it's very important that you have your profile set up here properly. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see what these look like. Has anybody placed a referral by doing this? Like going to an office website and looked at it?
Yep.
Okay. What are some of the things that you look for when you're looking to place a referral?
ALC member.
ALC member? Okay, good. What does that indicate to you?
That they are running a business. They're on a profit and loss statement. They
Okay.
understand.
Very good. Okay, so they're actually running a business. They're not a hobbyist agent. They've been around for a while. They're probably a capper. They've got a P&L statement. They're legit, right? They're in business. What else would we look for, maybe specifically on this page, if you were looking to place a referral here? Designations, so that I don't know that those are visible here on this page. They are when we get a little bit deeper. But let me slide down a little bit. What's something here that you notice as we scroll down the page that might be a red flag to placing a referral? No pictures. All right, so you know what I forgot to say is that this is a safe zone. Before we get too deep into this, if I happen to pull up your profile, I know Scott very well. His office is not too far from ours. I'll have a conversation with him. So, yeah, your photo is really important. If your photo's not there, the chance of you getting a referral is near zero. Okay? So it's very important that you go and check your office website, make sure that you've got a photo there, a photo that actually looks like you, a photo that's professional. We were joking a little bit earlier. Probably don't want a photo with your bird or your dog in it. You want something that looks legitimate, right? That you're a professional real estate agent. One of the other things that people look for here is the phone number. If I were to scroll through this page, I would bet that your office phone number is 312-471-6444. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. If you were going to place a referral, would you call through the front desk to find that person? No. Right? So you're putting a barrier for somebody reaching out to you by not having your cell phone number there. So go in and check that. The other thing that I'm going to notice here, especially as we got towards the top, is I see a lot of people that have this temporary domain name. And here's an example of it. Is Candace in the room? Is it okay if we highlight this? Okay. No, we're not picking on you. I promise to fix it for you if you need some help with that. This domain name right here is a temporary domain name. It's X, whatever this is, 172.081.yourKWAgent. That means that this person is on eAgency. This Your KW Agent is an indicator that they're using their eAgency website. So if you go through the office, we can see who has transitioned off of eAgency just by looking at this URL here. All right? And this part right here, I say temporary because that's just assigned to you when you get started with Keller Williams. They just make up a random number there. All right? And you can see Kelly above that, or actually Kelly's with Market Leader because she's on KW Realty. Let's see if we can find another one. Jimmy, for example. Nope, KW Realty. Let's find one that's changed.
Go to the end.
Go to the end.
Yeah, more songs.
So your last name starts with a Z. I see what he's doing. See what we got. Lots of KW. So a lot of folks are on the Market Leader platform here. Here we go. Chris has kkeller.yourkwagent.com. So we changed that X number into at least their name, which is a little bit better. But the challenge with using either of these, your KW Agent or the KW Realty, the problem with that is these are what's called subdomains of this domain. And this is the domain that gets credit from the search engines. So Chris is giving all of his search engine credit to your KW Agent. This is all going to KW Realty. So if we scroll through your office website or your office list of agents, we see of the first 50 here.
There's one.
No, still KW Realty.
Go up.
Let's see where we're at here. Do you know a name in particular I could search for?
Yeah, Bill Fern.
Fern?
Yeah. I want to see what you... Right there.
Okay, so still on the subdomain, so you're giving all your credit to KW Realty. So the domain name that is the .com or the .net, whatever, that's who gets the search engine credit. So if you do not have your domain name that you purchased from GoDaddy, for example, like Carol, let's see what she's got here. So this is interesting. What Carol did is she did a forward. Okay? So we see we've got Carol, I'm going to botch the last name. How do you say that? Federici. So we've got carolfederici.com. But when I clicked on it, unfortunately, I won't be able to zoom in for you to see in the back. All it did was forward over to yourkwagent.com. Okay? So the problem with that is that Google can't see the pages that are there. Google doesn't know that there's a domain there or any words or properties or anything there because it instantly forwarded over to your KW Agent and it gave all the SEO credit to KW Agent. And we can look at what Google sees in our website by doing a quick little test by copying the domain name. Oops. So I'm just going to copy. Apparently, I'm not going to copy it very well. This part of the domain name. And then I'm going to go over to Google, and I'm going to type in site, and then whatever her domain name is. All right? And when I hit enter, it's going to tell me how many results are available for that website. Because it's just a forward. There are no pages below that. Okay? So you can do this with your own domain name. How many people here have purchased a domain name from GoDaddy or whatever? One of your homework assignments is to put in site, and then see how many pages you have. If I were to want to buy a house somewhere in this area, what would I type into Google to do a search?
When you say put in site and then see how many pages.
The domain name. We're going to do one more example. I'll show you what that looks like. If I wanted to buy a house in this area and I were a buyer, what would I type into Google to find a house around here? Park Ridge? Okay. Park Ridge homes for sale. Now, before I hit enter, how many pages do you think would be in the Google index for Park Ridge homes for sale? Lots is a good answer. You want to guess? How many? 50,000?
No.
Millions? What do you think? Not millions? How many people think it's a million or more? How many people think it's a million or less? How many people just don't think? No, I'm just kidding. All right, so let's take a look at this. So we're going to just hit enter here. And there are 3.7 million pages indexed for Park Ridge homes for sale. How competitive do you think that you'll be with one page?
Oh my God.
Not at all. A little shocking. That's a lot, but it's still relatively easy to penetrate and be competitive in that. Believe it or not. 5 million or more, we start to get a little worried about it. But 3.7 million, you could compete. The first probably 6 or 7 here are advertisements. As we scroll down a little bit further, we've got Zillow, Redfin, Trulia, and Realtor.com. followed by homes.com, some CB, C21, Home Finder. What I'd like to do is just dig in a little bit deeper here and try and find the first real estate agent that we can find.
Parkridge Homes had a real estate agent.
Did they?
Yeah, the very first one.
The Stately?
No, the page before this.
Oh, that was an advertisement.
Oh, that was an ad.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to find somebody who's like got some SEO here. Is Freiburg Properties? Is that a brokerage or an agent? Jersey? Redfin. All right, let's dig a little bit deeper then. Who's an agent? Sorry? This one? Okay, so Christina's an agent somewhere, not with Keller Williams? Let's see.
Bill Rucks, right underneath that.
Bill Rux? Okay, we'll grab him. All right, so this looks like an agent. Christina, I don't want to botch that last name, serves the Chicagoland area. So this is a website that was on page 3. So not ideal, but what I want to do is that same test, that site colon test that I just told you that you could do for your own website. I want to do that with hers. So I want to see like how many pages you need to have indexed in order to be able to show up on page 3. Okay, so just kind of get an idea here. So I'm going to copy this. We're going to go over to Google again, see if I still have that open. We'll go here. Site colon, and then her domain name. She has 153 pages in the Google index. So that is not very competitive. For you to jump ahead of this person who's on the 3rd page of Google, you just have to do better than that.
You mean, with 153 results, you mean domain names?
Pages. 153 pages on her website. So we landed on one of the pages that was on her website, and that was the one that was for Park Ridge, Illinois. Okay? And the reason why she's ranking for Park Ridge, Illinois is because she's got some really good content there about Park Ridge, Illinois. Okay? This content is something that, is unique to her website, obviously. It doesn't look like it was copied and pasted. And then what she did is she put listings below it. So we can see all the homes that are available in Park Ridge. So she named some subdivisions, she did some research, and got some content into the website, and it's put her on page 3 of Google. So this whole idea of getting found is really based on creating some content. And that's one of the things that makes the new Keller Williams website better than any of the ones that we've had before. And that's that it's very simple for you to be able to add content on the website. All right? Does this make sense to everyone? We can stop here and address any questions that you might have. Yes?
KW Styles, exclamation point.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions at this point before we jump into it? Yeah.
Is it like a block or blog?
So I don't think that this would be considered a blog on the Playster side of things. This would be what would be called an area page, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I wouldn't get lost in where content lives. It's really irrelevant. The idea is that there's content there. The content exists. So whether that's in a page or a blog or whatever, really doesn't matter. When I show you how to do this exact same thing in Playster, it's going to be called an area page. All right? So the idea here is that if you have unique content on the site and you have your domain name set up properly, you can get past this first step in the chain. And we saw that first page of 50 or so agents here on your roster. A good portion of them are broke right up here. They're never going to get found because they don't have their domain name set up properly. Okay? So if you've purchased a domain name from GoDaddy or Google or the KW domain store, the thing that you need to do is set up a CNAME. And we're going to talk about that when we get inside of Playster. But this is the key. I know it's sideways. This is the key to getting your domain name set up properly. The letter C, name. That will give you Google credit for the domain name that you purchased. All right? C, name.
N-A-M-E.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Is it possible to have like 20 domain names like Bucktown Real Estate, WickerParkRealEstate.com, and then they don't necessarily, if they click onto those, they're not going to go to a website called Bucktown Real Estate. They're going to go to Tom Hartnett KW?
So yes, that's a great question. So what we saw there,
Like hundreds of names
Yeah.
in every Chicago neighborhood, right?
so what we saw happen with Carol's is she forwarded the domain name over. She didn't set up a CNAME. You can actually only have one domain name set up with a CNAME. And then if you own 20 or 30 or 50 others, you can point into your other domain name. So for example, if you had isellchicagoland.com and you happen to have isellparkridge.com, right? You could potentially have isellparkridge.com point to the page on isellchicagoland.com for Park Ridge. Okay? Now, the only reason why you would want to do that is if you wanted to specifically market outside of the internet the second or third or 50th domain name. So, for example, if you were running ads on Craigslist or you were doing advertisements in magazines or whatever, and you wanted to be able to track where those leads were coming in from or those visits were coming in from, or you wanted to show the people of Park Ridge that you happen to have a little bit more investment there because you purchased a domain name, it would only be external to the internet. You would not get any search engine credit or Google juice or anything for any of your additional domain names.
Google Juice?
Yeah, Google juice. The only domain name you're going to get credit for is the one that you set up with a CNAME. So a lot of folks will buy multiple domain names. Real quick, if you got a pen and paper, write this down. Emailstationery.com. And not because I own it and I want you to buy some, but this is a quick example of why you would want to buy multiple domain names. How many people spelled stationery with an ARY? How many people spelled stationery with an ERY? Okay, it's actually spelled with an ERY, and 60% of Americans spell stationery wrong. Yep, you're in good company. All right, so our first family reunion was the one in Atlanta, which I think was 2007, 2008. We get there to set up our booth. We're all excited after we drove from Orlando. We're moving all this heavy stuff in there. I look up and the sign is spelled wrong. I'm like, okay, no big deal. I take the sign off. We put up our booth. And we go about our business. We have a really good show. It was the first time at family reunion. And as soon as we get back to Orlando, our phone is ringing that our website's down. What do you mean our website's down? I can get to our website. What's going on? Our website wasn't down. People were typing in emailstationery.com with an ARY because it was printed in the program wrong with an ARY. So they were getting back to their office and they were typing in the ARY and they weren't getting into our website. We did not own the misspelling of email stationery. It was a gentleman in the Cayman Islands, 6 months and $8,000 later. We got the domain name emailstationary.com, the misspelling of our domain name. Okay? It was a very expensive lesson for us. But the way we looked at it is 60 cents out of every dollar we spent in marketing we were going to lose. So we had to make that decision. So if you've got something, a hard name to spell, an area is difficult to spell, grab multiple domain names and point them all to one. It's one reason why you would have multiple domain names. But only one is going to get credit. Only one will show up in Google, and that's the one that you set up with the CNAME.
On
Yes.
that topic, what is your recommendation in regards to buying the other ends, like .com, .net, whatever?
So if you cannot have the .com, I would not suggest you using that as your brand. So for example, if isellchicago.com is taken, I wouldn't go buy isellchicago.net or .info or .business or any of those other ones.
But
Okay?
if you do have the .com, do you also recommend locking up the .net? The
So there's two schools of thoughts there. The reason why you don't want to buy the .net is because you would be advertising for a competitor, right? Because if I told you isellchicago.net at the grocery store and you drive home, you're going to type in isellchicago.com when you get home, right? So you'd be sending traffic to your competitor. I could go either
Lock
way.
it up so your competitor doesn't. take
Your
it.
competitor, if your competitor buys the .net, they're going to be advertising for you. You're going to get traffic off of your
Because
competitor
they're always
knowing it.
gonna use .com.
Correct. Yeah, basically, yeah. So there's two schools of thought there.
Okay.
Yeah. On anything that we have a trademark for, we own them all. But
Yeah.
anything else, like really go for it. Go for it. Like somebody bought e-mailstationery.com, go for it. Go for it. We get hundreds of visits because of that every month. So it really depends on what
Okay.
what you have. Typically at this time, people will ask about buying, what kind of domain names to purchase. If you are an agent that has been established in a market for a long time, you've got signs all over town. You have your photos on bus benches and buses all over the place, and you want to register kengranger.com and that be your real estate brand, I think that's a good idea. If you're a relatively new agent and relatively new to online marketing, I would suggest that you do not register a domain name with your name. I would do something geographically specific, like Park Ridge Homes for Sale. Okay? Do something that the millennials and the younger generation, or the first-time home buyers, the lifestyle searchers will be able to find. Okay? Because in an online transaction or an online investigation, it's really not about you. If this is a stranger from Google, it's about the information and the expertise that you come along with. All right? So think about how long you've been in the business and what, really where you want to position yourself. Is Park Ridge large enough that if you only sold in Park Ridge, you could be a successful agent? Mm-hmm. Okay. So think about that. Good.
So if you have, so for example, my team name is Signature Plus Team. So I have signaturePlusTeam.com.
Sure.
And then I want to get geographically specific. So what I'm understanding you say is that, let's say I choose to market ParkRidgeHomes.com.
Mm-hmm.
But then I point that to SignaturePlusTeam.com. SignaturePlusTeam.com will get the Google juice
Correct.
from that Park Ridge Home search, but not the ParkRidgeHome.com
Correct.
Domain name.
Correct.
And that would be the right way to do it, correct? Or no?
It depends. If you're trying to be larger than Park Ridge, yes. If you wanted to be found and dominate Park Ridge, no. You would want to have Park Ridge Homes for Sale on its own domain with its own content, with its own SEO, so that it can earn good Google juice from that. And let me show you an example of that, of an agent local in Orlando. It's a really good question. What's that?
She told me to stay out of Park Ridge.
It's competitive, huh?
I live there.
This is interesting.
Okay, so we've got an agent that we work with. Their domain name is searchorlandohomes.com. They work in or obviously they specialize in an area of Orlando that's called Hunters Creek. So this is their Playster website that we've gone in and done a refresh on, so it looks a little bit different than what comes out of the box. So this is their main brand. This is what their business cards have. Their shirts are embroidered with this. Like, they brand Search Orlando. Okay. Interesting story. This guy spent a lot of money on his business cards to get that little eyeball-shaped die cut into it. He wins more than half of the time when he puts his card into a raffle because it's just a funny shape and people just tend to pull it out. So he's like, I paid for my business cards in gift certificates and coupons to whatever. But this is his brand. This is how he lives his day to day.
Wait, how was the shape again?
So the shape of the business card has the little point.
It comes in that shape.
Teardrop.
Yeah, we die cut his domain name or his business card to match that. Yeah. So just interesting side story. So this is his main brand. This is everything that he does is Search Orlando. However, he dominates an area of Orlando called Hunters Creek. So he purchased another domain name called ilovehunterscreek.com.
Yeah.
All right? So you could go iloveparkridge.com.
Right.
One of you can have it. I'm not going to let you figure out that. All right? So he has an entirely different brand and different website for ilovehunterscreek.com. So let's take a look at that one. And what's unique about this is he's created this as a community/lifestyle page and lifestyle site, and he drives all the traffic there from Facebook. So he also has facebook.com/ilovehunterscreek. So everything that's going on in Hunters Creek, he's posting up here on Facebook and linking over into his website. So he has 6,919 likes, and the community of Hunters Creek has about 25,000 residents. So 1 in 4 residents are fans of his Facebook page. It's pretty incredible. So he's got this brand that's very kind of, I don't want to say bold, but his brand is very recognizable and very out there around Orlando. But then he niches himself down to be an expert in Hunters Creek. And pretty much everything that you happen to search... Did I lose the computer? Might not be able to do anything at the moment. Let's see what we got here. Yep, we're dead in the water. So everything that he does in Hunters Creek, he's ranking for. So might got to do a Control-Delete here. So yes, absolutely. Everything that he does has got that hashtag and or user ID. So we're completely locked up here. I might have to restart.
Does it have to do with the Chromecast?
I don't know. I can't click.
Trying to
My,
cast it?
my mouse won't move. My Control-Alt-Delete won't work. Completely dead. Do you mind if I reboot it?
No problem.
Let's try it. So if you do a search for the things that are important, so like I asked you a little bit earlier, if somebody wanted to buy a property here in Park Ridge, what would they type in? They would type in Park Ridge Homes for Sale. Same thing for Hunters Creek. If you type in Hunters Creek Homes for Sale, Hunters Creek Home Values, anything that has to do with that particular area and real estate, he's going to pop on page 1 or 2. And it's because he's created content around that. And that, it goes back to all of this other stuff of get found. So unfortunately for that case, like the Signature Properties team is not really getting any Google juice in a scenario like this, but it doesn't matter because the leads are coming in anyway. And the people who go to I Love Hunters Creek don't feel like it's a real estate site. They feel like it's their community site. So much so that he gets emails pretty much weekly about how the neighbor left their trash out and so painted their house and they weren't supposed to, and all those kind of HOA drama things that come along with it. Okay? So you may want to build a separate site for your niche, especially if it's big enough for you to really dominate and be something, be successful in that particular market. It looks like it's booting. It's wheeling at me. All right. So does everybody understand that, how the domains can link together and what's important about that whole scene name piece in order to get found online? Yes, sir.
Question for you, the scene name. You said we need to do it as a scene name. Where is that something we identify, like when we purchase the domain?
So I'm going to show you how that works on Playster, assuming that you're going to be using your Playster website. You do that through your registration company, like GoDaddy or wherever you bought your domain name from, and your host, in this case, Playster. So you could do that on eAgency and GoDaddy, or Playster and GoDaddy. There's a piece that has to happen in both places. Yes, sir. Yeah, very good question. Yeah.
Through Playster, is there a way that we can go ahead and put in like web crawls, keywords through SEO, and search through, and actually get a search of your traffic in Google Analytics?
Yeah, so there's two pieces to that equation. Can you put in keywords or data so that the search engines know what you should be referenced for? The answer is kinda, and when we go live, I'll show you where that is. Please remind me when we get there. And then, can you put Google Analytics? Yes, you absolutely should do that. What Google Analytics is it's just a tiny code that you get from Google. And what it does is it tracks every single person and every single activity that they do on your website. So you can see that somebody from Orlando, Florida visited your website, and they went to 15 different pages, and they spent 9 minutes there, and then they came back 3 different times. So you can get a lot of data about what's happening to your visitors and your traffic on your website through this software called Google Analytics. And it's completely free. There's no charge to do that. It just kind of put that code right inside there, and it works magically. Do you mind if I just put...
Yeah,
I can plug my HDMI in, and we'll be up and running in just a second. Wouldn't be a tech class without a spinning wheel, right?
I'm sure web is happening.
Being ornery.
So if you do a geographical area specific website, and that's
Thank you.
not your CNAME website,
Mm-hmm.
explain to me what's the benefit or not the benefit.
So
I just want to make sure I'm understanding.
the benefit would be, so that's a really good question. If you didn't hear that in the back, the question was, why would I buy a domain name if I'm not going to set it up as a CNAME? What would the benefit be? Is that the question?
So if I do like a geographical specific domain name,
Mm-hmm.
and that is not my CNAME domain name, just help me understand the benefit or disadvantage.
Disadvantage, there is none. The reason why you would do something like that, you would purchase a domain name and it not be your CNAME, is if you wanted to have...
More presence in the area.
only if you're going to market it in a magazine or something in print, because it's never going to be found online anywhere.
Because it's going to your CNAME.
Correct. Yeah, so you'd have to have a purpose of marketing it on a billboard, on a sign, on a bus bench, on something that would create that geographic connection, because it would never be found from a search engine perspective. A lot of people were doing that with Craigslist. When Craigslist was very popular and you're getting a lot of traffic from Craigslist, that's when the boom of buying all these crazy domain names, kind of really came into play. But my suggestion would be, like, if you are a team and you want to dominate, the easy answer is 2 different websites, and you do what that guy did. You have your main website, and then you have your niche website. And then you get really good at the second niche, the first niche, and you go to the second and the third and the fourth.
But the main site is the CNAME website.
Well, he actually had 2. The I Loves Hunters Creek was a separate website.
He has 2 CNAME websites.
Correct. Yep. And on Playster, you can add an additional website. They charge $10 a month for that additional website. So it's not very expensive to go, really dominate by getting an additional website. So bear with me. I'm just going to get, for whatever reason, I can't talk and type at the same time. I'm going to get caught up to where we were before and get logged into Playster. So I'm going to assume that you all have, your market has rolled out. So I'm going to assume that you all have access to this. And you log in through kw.com. So the moral of the story is you don't have a username and password to Playster. It's connected to your kw.com. It's under websites, and then there's a little red button there that says go to my website or log into my website. If for whatever reason you don't have that, there'll be a message that tells you why. Your website is waiting, your account's not set up. It'll tell you why your website is not there. So I'm assuming that you all have gone through this step. If you've not, we will catch up after class. Okay, so everybody else, if you happen to have not set up your website yet, that's no big deal. So we're actually going to start our tour of the back office of the KW websites, the Playster account, and the last section called Areas. And the reason why this is important is because the woman that we were looking at before that was on page 3 of Google for Park Ridge, is she set up what we would consider on Playster to be an area page. I don't know if you remember, but there was some content up at the top, and then there were houses below, right? So that's the idea of an area page, is that you create some content at the top, and then you put the houses down below. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to create that content here inside of Playster. So this is just a sample site, and it's one based in Orlando, so I'm going to use one of the Orlando neighborhoods there. And we already talked about Hunters Creek, so we won't use that one. Another popular area of Orlando is called Baldwin Park. So if I were to create a page, an area page on my website for Baldwin Park, what do you think that we should title that page? That's pretty easy, right? We might want to take it one step further and talk about what it's like to live in Baldwin Park. Remember, what we're trying to do is we're trying to provide value. So we're not really trying to be super salesy at this point, but what else can we put in there to add value about Baldwin Park? Events, community happening, living, right? So you could do like Baldwin Park lifestyle. All right? And then now we've got something that I would probably click on that if I were consuming, a consumer thinking about, hey, I want to live in Baldwin Park. I would probably click on something that was labeled about the lifestyle in Baldwin Park. Now, on an area page, you can set up your areas to be things like counties, cities, zip codes, neighborhoods. Okay? In this case, Baldwin Park is a neighborhood, so I'm going to go ahead and check neighborhood here. And in our MLS, there's almost 90,000 homes. So this takes a little while for it to populate all of the neighborhoods that were in there. And hopefully, by the time I said that, they should all be in here. Let's take a look. Not yet. Behave. Okay, so here we go. We've got all the neighborhoods loading in. So if you're creating an area page and it takes you 20 seconds or so for that little thing to pop up, that's completely normal. It's going and bringing in all of the neighborhoods that are in your MLS. I think you guys have, what, 30 or 40,000 properties in your MLS? A lot. Okay, so it takes a minute for that to pull in there. It's perfectly normal. The next thing it's going to ask you is, should this area be featured? And what that means is, do you want us to pull this area out into the home page or into the navigation? You can check the box if you want to do that. All right. My suggestion is that these area pages usually are people coming in from the back side of your website. Right? They're coming in the back door to the website because they found you through a search engine. We don't necessarily have to have every single community that we service on the home page. That could be overwhelming if you service a lot of areas. Can't have 2 items go down on the same day. Eventually, I'm just going to turn my laptop around and show you off of that. All right. Whew. All right. Come on. All right. So the next thing that we could do after we name our page and we decide whether we want to take that out to the home page or not is we can upload some photos in the form of a slideshow. You all have a slideshow right now on the home page of your new KW websites. This would be a slideshow for your neighborhoods. So for example, if we were talking about Park Ridge, we might want to upload a photo of the Park Ridge sign. We might want to upload an aerial photo or a map. We might want to upload if there's tennis courts or community spaces that people would recognize as being part of Park Ridge. And you can upload, I think it's 5 for that slideshow. And what's really important about this is the resolution is listed right there. The important piece is that you upload the photos exactly the same size as they're telling you right here. So that means that you need to edit your photo before you upload it in here. Otherwise, it's going to look smushed or stretched out, or it's going to look funny. It might not center right. Your photo could look like garbage. Really important that you do that at the exact resolution, not only for the area pages, but for your home page as well.
And you can go to picresize.com.
Ah, great. Thank you. All right, so these area pages are really important because they give you the opportunity to get some SEO, some search engine optimizations, in order to be able to use your domain name that has a CNAME with the communities that you want to service to put all of that
That's what I was
gooey,
trying to
good
get
stuff
to.
together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're going to guide you through this entire area page section in a way that's going to be good for you from an SEO perspective. All right, so it's broken down by sections. This is one of the only places that it does that for you. Break it down. They don't want you to be lazy about it, basically, right? So there's 5 or 6 different sections. You need to fill them all out. Okay? So if we landed on a page that was about Baldwin Park lifestyle, what kind of things would we talk about in Baldwin Park in our first paragraph, in our first section?
Annoying events.
Annoying neighbors. Perfect. So at the very top of the page, what I would probably talk about is the Baldwin Park community. Okay? All right, and then we would say something like, it's nice to live here, lots of things to do. All right? Way more than that, but you get the idea. We can put a picture there of the community center. Now we can talk about a subheading of that. So here's what's going on in the community, or here's what the community is about. What would a subheading be? Maybe events. Yeah. So what's going on in Baldwin Park? You should capitalize things. I'm going fast. We lost a little time there. Lots of stuff. You can add some images here, half-width images, left-width images, etc. What else would we talk about Baldwin Park? Now we can start getting salesy. How about Baldwin Park home values or market statistics? Okay? And then we can put in here, homes are expensive. You should buy now. Okay? So this could give us a pretty good SEO value for our page if we filled that out with real content. What else could we do to make this page even better from a visitor's perspective? Anybody have any ideas? Schools, directions, that would be great. Anything else? Photos would be great. How about better than photos?
Video.
Video, yeah, thank you. Yeah, so if we added a video to this page, that would be money, especially if it was a video that you all made. So if you did like a neighborhood tour or a drive-by, or you kind of went through some of the subdivisions and had a really nice video, you can put that in the page. Now what's cool about Playster and the way it works with video is it's a really good friend to YouTube. So if I come over to YouTube here, and I grab a video, I don't even know what we have here. We'll do, does anybody watch
Brendan, how do I
Brendan Burchard?
program my mom?
So let's pretend like that was a video about Baldwin Park. Okay? All you have to do is grab the address of the video, and I don't know if you can see from the back, but all I did was highlight that right there, and I can paste it over into my Playster. So I'm going to copy that. You don't need embed codes or anything like that to get good content or good video into Playster. All you have to do is paste the URL. And it automatically does all of the magic that used to be a pain in the butt to do in order to get a video on your website. Okay? So this is our page here about Baldwin Park. We've got a video. We've got lots of content. We uploaded some nice photos, pretending that we did. The most important thing that you need to do at the bottom from a search engine's perspective, we're talking about this get found again. You have to put content in there so the search engines understand what this is about. And there are two fields here. One is called a title and the other is called a description. Now the title is what you want to be seen in Google in blue. So if we do a Google search for Baldwin Park homes for sale, all of these links in blue are the titles. So for example, this one here says 121 homes for sale in Baldwin Park. So that's a pretty interesting title. So in our case, we would talk about buying or thinking of buying your new home in Baldwin Park. So this is something that a consumer would be like, yeah, I'm thinking about buying a new home in Baldwin Park. Let me click on that blue link. Okay? And the description is the black text that's below it. So these are all descriptions right here. And you notice if you type your description a little bit too long, it just does that ... right? You're not getting credit for all those words.
You're only getting credit for what shows up
Yeah.
in that front.
It's 55 characters for the title and 150 or 160 for the description. So I would type something about like everything you ever wanted to know about living in Baldwin Park. I think it's 150. Yeah, if you Google it, they'll tell you what the exact number is, but I think it's 150 to 160. So you'd say something like everything you ever wanted to know about living in Baldwin Park and current list of homes for sale. Not homes for sale, homes for sale. All right. So then we could save this area page, and then we can view it. So I created this area page called the Baldwin Park Lifestyle, and if I come over here, nope, not YouTube, and paste that, it'll load up our page here with the Baldwin Park community, our video, what's going on in Baldwin Park. It actually takes a map now from the MLS, because we put the neighborhood, the city, the zip, the county, whatever we chose, and now it's showing us every single home that's for sale inside of Baldwin Park. Okay? Now, what's really powerful about this is, and we talk about leverage all the time inside of Keller Williams, this is ridiculous leverage. Okay? Usually when I talk about blogging or writing content, people tune out. They don't want to do that. I mean, who woke up this morning and says, I want to work on my website and write content? Thank you, sir. There's one out of the whole group. Right? No one likes this. This is worse than going to the dentist. All right? But if you do it once, we had one blog post there, and we got 77 properties below it. Okay? As we scroll down here, we'll see a little bit more. So we actually got 79 pages of content out of our one blog post. Because when Google gets there, it's going to read the information about Baldwin Park, and then it's going to go and look at every single listing that's inside of Baldwin Park. Okay? So Realtor.com, Zillow, Trulia, all of the big website behemoths, they all have listings, but what they don't have is local real estate expertise. So this is how you can beat those guys. You put a little bit of local real estate expertise above it, and listings below it. Okay? Now I see puzzled faces. Yes.
You said videos gold. Do they know you have a video attached? Do they see your metas? Your title and your meta content?
Google would know. I don't know that it would get you any search engine credit. It's gold for the visitor because, number one, it shows that you're invested in the community. Number two, it keeps them on the website longer. If they spend 2 or 3 minutes invested in that video, they're much more likely to continue down the page as opposed to clicking the back button. So that's why it's gold. Yeah.
So I have a WordPress blog that I kind of do real estate stuff on.
Sure.
I'm more of a personal blog than a professional one. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, what should I do about it in relation to this?
Nothing. Start over. If it's not about real estate,
No, it is about real estate.
oh, you said it's personal, not professional. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I list like properties that either I sold or I'm listing, or I do home decor stuff too out there.
Okay. I would find your favorite home decor stuff and bring that over, especially if that's like a differentiating value proposition of why someone would want to list with you because you're going to make their home look better than anybody else that they could potentially be interviewing. I'd bring that content over. The old listing data is probably not as relevant as the new listing data, and this system does it for you, so I wouldn't really worry about that, any of the listing stuff. Yeah, I would. Yep. I know. It's a lot of work and a lot of effort. The only thing that you potentially could do you have a domain name set up for that?
No.
Okay. So that's another example of why the CNAME is so important. If you had set up a CNAME with that domain, you would have, how long have you been doing it?
About 3 months.
Okay. So you'd have a few months worth of history on the domain. It wouldn't be a brand new domain, right? So there's some value to getting that, if the domain name had been around for a while, there would be some value in that. Unfortunately, at this point, there's not a whole lot. Yes, ma'am? I'll show you that at the end. Yes?
How many area pages do you get with the place their
As
site?
many as you want.
Yes!
As many,
All right.
as many as you can put quality content in. So here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to go create all of your area pages thinking that you're going to come back later and put the content in.
Right.
Create the area page, put the content, and then go on to your next one. Yep.
Finish one.
If all you do is go create area pages and you put coming soon, you didn't do anything for yourself. I'd much rather see you take that time and focus. Now, you could probably do this if you were really kind of working on it. You could probably do this in about an hour. Getting your pictures together, writing some good content. It shouldn't take you a whole lot of time to do that. So if you're thinking about marketing 5 or 10 communities, and you do one a week, inside of a month or two, you could have your website rocking and rolling. So this doesn't have to be a huge commitment. Okay? There was another question on this side, I think. All right. So any questions on this leverage here? You write one page of content, you get 79 pages of content below it because of all those listings there. The other thing about this is that this data is pulled live the time that the person views the page. So right now there's 79 properties in Baldwin Park. Tomorrow there could be 82, 84, 64. Right? So every single time Google comes back, it's going to search and it's going to see the most active listings. This is really important to leverage the amount of work that you're putting in for your area pages. So if you don't touch any other part of your website except for area pages, you'll be in really good shape. Okay? Any questions here?
What
Yes,
if
sir.
there's 250 homes?
It'll show them all.
Which is even
If my
better.
buyer or my potential client customer is going to try to contact me, how are they going to search 250?
So there's two things that are happening here. So number one, this is basically like a landing page or a lead magnet from the search engines, right? So what we hope to happen here is that the consumer's like, this guy knows what the heck he's talking about in Park Ridge or Baldwin Park, whatever. They can start their property search here if they choose to do that. Over on the right-hand side, they can start a new listing search. I know it's difficult to see. It's kind of grayed out there. So there's lead capture all over this particular page. But the desire is, or the hope is that they would click on one of these listings, and now at this point they're hooked in, right? They're going to start looking at different things around the website, and they're going to start behaving like somebody who's searching for a property. They may do things like save this property as a favorite, which is this little star here. It might be difficult to see from the back, but I just clicked on a little star next to the address to save it as a favorite. And basically what that does is it gives them an opportunity to sign up for an account with you, which is a lead capture, right? It's this piece down here. So everywhere we go down this page is an opportunity for them to lead capture. And even as we get to the bottom, it's going to start showing other things that are going on there. Somebody mentioned schools earlier, so it's got all the schools that are in that area. So they can start to kind of spider around the website. Now it's going to show other listings that are nearby and in the same price range and all that kind of stuff, and it's going to get that person invested in your website. Okay? So throughout here, there's lead capture opportunities. Even as they scroll down here, they can submit a form. They're interested in learning more about this one. They can calculate a mortgage. They can save this as their favorites. They can share it with their sphere on social media. So there's lots of opportunities for them to engage here. And if they want to start a search from scratch, they can do that. Okay?
Is that verbiage from the MLS?
What's that?
Verbiage of that house.
Yes. Yeah, whatever came from them.
Floor plan that's on there, or is that attached from the?
They must have uploaded a photo of the floor plan. Yep. Okay.
So is that what's called an IDX search?
So this area here is called an IDX search. The other part that I was showing you with just the grid of properties is what they call an area page. Okay.
And this is all included in the page, we don't pay anything?
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Yep. All right. So the idea here is properties and leverage. You write it once and you get tons of pages of credit for it. So if you do 10 communities and they each have an average of 100 properties per community, you have 1,000 pages of content on your website, and all you did was write 10 pages. Okay? Yeah.
When you're researching how you had put in there an area and you want to see, like, you know, your competitors, right? Like who's kind of got, who has that area dominated, right? And as far as like their Google content, what have you. What was your recommendation as far as when you feel like, you know, with doing these steps, I could beat that person out?
Mhm.
What is that number, like when I'm looking at it for as far as pages?
So that's a little bit tricky. The one that we looked at, for example, that woman had 153 pages, right? You couldn't just go in there and do 154 pages and win, right? So it's how long you've been in the race, how strong your horse is. It's a lot of those types of things. So it's going to be very difficult for us to quantify what exactly it's going to take to get, to move your pawn and beat them. It's very complex. And unfortunately, the formula is not published to where we can say, okay, if you do 1, 2, and 3, you're going to be there. The idea is that you start, and when you see progress, you will continue to keep going. So, and that's the whole thing here is if we can get you started and you start to see that little bit of progress, that's going to motivate you to do more, and you're going to be better at it. You're going to feel that kind of momentum going forward. So that's the idea here. Start, and you'll get some momentum. Even if you pull up on page 5, where are you now? Right? When you're on page 5, you're going to be like, man, how's that person on page 3? You're going to go write another article about Park Ridge, and boom, now you're on page 3. Okay. Yes, sir?
How many websites can you do with this?
As many as you want to manage. Okay, it's $10 per additional site. I don't think the average agent can manage more than 1 or 2 or 3 successfully without hiring some support. But you could do 50 if you wanted, but it's really difficult to manage that kind of scale.
Do they allow for SEO platforms to go in there and pretty much go in?
Not really. No.
But with the area page, you can do so much.
You can do, yeah.
Right? It's just that CNAME part of it, being able to get credit back.
Yeah, if you don't have that set up, yesterday or Friday I did a class in Naperville, and all of their agents that had set up their website had first name, last name.kw.com. So they made a step forward, they got their website set up, but they didn't do the CNAME piece, which is, and they're not going to get any credit. KW is going to get credit for that. And they don't want it, to be honest. KW doesn't want the credit. That's why they give it to you guys. They give you the option for the CNAME. Yeah, they don't want it. But it's better to go to KW than just get completely lost, right? So, yeah, the CNAME has to be set up in order for you to get credit for that. We're working backwards inside of Playster from the area pages that we just talked about. If you were an office and had multiple offices or a business center, you might fill out the multiple offices that you're in. So that's probably something that we don't need to talk about. Testimonials are very much like the area pages. It's very simple for you to go in there, push the plus button, and add a testimonial. Okay? It asks you for the title of the testimonial, the body of the testimonial, and then at the bottom you can put the name and if they have any credentials. So you might want to put Ken Granger, and then you